Another victory for our side.
Well, tonight we actually got him in the studio, House of Freaks. Actually, half a House of Freaks. We have Bryan Harvey here. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Where's Johnny?
Johnny's back home in Virginia.
Johnny Hott, the drummer for House of Freaks, and you're taking a little break here from...
He's taking a break. I'm working. I'm doing
well,
this.
This is kind of a break here.
No, I could have gone home to Virginia to see my family and girlfriend, but I had to come here.
Okay. Well, can you first tell us where you're from and why you came out to L.A.?
All right. Well, we're from Richmond, Virginia. And about a year ago, Johnny and I, after playing a year in Richmond, decided that nothing was happening out there. In fact, people didn't really even like us that much. So we were pretty much run out of town on a rail, you know. And had some friends out here. Stephen McCarthy, who's with the Long Riders, kept telling me to come on out here, and he could help us out. And we had some interest from Rhino Records too, as well as Bug Music. And I mean, all signs just pointed to Los Angeles, so we had to come on out.
How were you received when you came out?
Well, that was surprising. It was great. I mean, it took a few months for us to build an audience around here, but you know, people immediately responded to it, so we knew it was the right move. And within 3 months, we'd signed our contract with Rhino.
That's great. That doesn't happen to everybody that comes out here.
No, I mean, we were pretty fortunate, but we didn't really realize how fortunate we were until later, because we started seeing how many bands weren't getting deals. We just thought that's the way it happened.
Well, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
How did Johnny and yourself meet? I hear there's an interesting story about that, and we'd kind of like to know.
Well, we dated the same girl, who's from Mobile, Alabama, and. Well, that's it. I don't want to go into it anymore.
All right, we won't pry into that. But
we were playing in different bands around Richmond, so most rock and roll musicians know of one another there.
In
it's
the same
not
circles,
a huge, But we were both at a point in our careers where we were sick of playing in bands and just decided to play together.
That's great. And you have a good working relationship. That's good. Your live shows are really highly regarded in the LA magazines, etc. Can you tell us how you prepare for them? Do you psych yourself up? Or,
no. No, we just go up. Well, we drink beer.
That's how we prepare for this
That's
show,
about it.
I won't say that.
No, I mean, I don't do scales or this sort of stuff.
You don't lock yourself in a room?
No, we don't do anything. We just go there and we play.
Is it a challenge being a two-piece band?
Yeah. It was a real challenge because we were both, well, you're kind of creatures of habit even in music. We were trying to fill out the low end even though we didn't have a bass. Your traditional low-end instrument wasn't there. And so we just sort of changed the way we normally played our instruments. Johnny beats more on the toms, and I don't know what we do, but it always sounded right to us. And it wasn't any sort of grand scheme or gimmick that we had in mind. We were actually looking for a bass player, never found one. So it was just born out of necessity. But
it's worked out, and there are some benefits too, being two people. Split the pay in half.
No, there's a lot of benefits.
That's good. How do you categorize your music? If you had to categorize it, is there a
I don't really categorize it except that it's bluesy and it's rock and roll and it's got pop and country elements and folk elements. That's all I would. Some people say twisted blues swamp rock or something, but I don't have a label for it.
Who are some of your influences from when you were growing up, or is there anybody you idolized or?
Not really any one person in particular. At different periods of my life, I've listened to different people. Right now, I'm really pretty hot on Brenda Lee. I can't sing like her though. I'm trying. Or Louis Prima, or when I was growing up, I liked Creedence and Stones.
So you have a pretty broad spectrum of.
Oh yeah, and in terms of this band, House of Freaks, our influences are more based in traditional blues, old country blues, southern blues, with a guy with one acoustic guitar and someone playing a washboard or stomping his foot
So
when Johnny and I, we sort of simultaneously discovered old blues. At that point, we were really inspired by it because of how primitive it was and how spare the arrangements were, and we were really intrigued by it. And we realized, well, they didn't have a big production, and they didn't have a bass guitar either. So if they could do it and do some of the great songs of all time, you know, Robert Johnson or Lightnin' Hopkins, why can't we?
It can still be done. So I guess on your album, you really didn't do too many overdubs, or
we did some, but
it was kind of at the bare bones.
Yeah, it was basically live. We did all the tracks live, and then we'd go back with some percussion, or I'd put in acoustic guitar, or on a couple of songs I just put low notes on the piano. So there wasn't any. Yeah, if you listen to it, you'll hear overdubs there.
Yeah,
but it's not big production. We wanted to stay pretty true to our live show.
Yeah. I read that somewhere that you have kind of a poor feeling about the LA music scene, or you have.
In what way?
You don't highly regard maybe some of the bands out
No,
here?
no.
Or,
I don't know.
Or is it the way that it's promoted, or I
don't
really
have a high regard for music biz, you know, and all the sleazy stuff that goes on behind the scenes. You know, I don't like the big business aspect of it. And that's why we signed with Rhino, because they're a really weird label who are really into the music, not profit motive is not the main thing for them. They'll say, let's put out a record, it'll be fun, you know, and never anticipate any type of sales off of it. Well, I mean, you can't find many labels like that.
Yeah, that's true.
In terms of the LA music scene, there's a lot of bands out here I like. Maybe what you had read is that I was sort of moaning about the fact that there's a lot of talent in other parts of the country that never gets noticed, and it's because you know, there's no industry out there in Richmond, Virginia, or Mobile, Alabama, or someplace in Ohio, or
might be becoming oversaturated here with all the local
and a lot of my experience was that there were bands back in Richmond that had been playing for years, and they'd have, you know, 75 original songs and be packing the clubs there and be really different and doing all original music and have played for years and be really very, very tight. But they get to a peak of popularity in the club scene, and then it starts to fade and they break up. And unfortunately, if they were out here, they'd have a record deal and would have some sort of national recognition. That was the only thing I was talking about. And some bands out here get signed, I think, before they're really ready. Right. You know, because there's so many labels.
They get pushed and then they kind of fade out maybe after an album or two.
And it'd be nice if you had some roving A&R guys like you used to in the you know, in the 30s or 40s who go out looking
to scout around the United States. And
it does happen in some places like Athens and wherever, someplace in Minnesota.
Yeah, Athens is a big spot for there was an interesting story about the night you were signed to Rhino Records. I guess you auditioned. Can you tell us a little about that?
We were playing at a club which was kind of like a steak and ale type place in Santa Monica, and we were going behind two bands that were pretty much big rock type bands, and they were really nervous because it was their big showcase. Yeah, lots of record companies will be here. It's very important for us. Well, for us, it was like that too. You know, we had Rhino Records out there who were, at that time, interested in us. So it was our showcase, but Johnny and I were like, oh, well, we didn't really think of it as any big deal. After those two bands played, it was packed for them. After those two bands played, the place cleared out. There was no one there, and there was like 10 people, really, friends of ours, and Rhino Records is our big showcase, and everyone left for us. So Johnny and I are just like, well, what the hell, we're gonna go on up there anyhow. So we got up and just acted like it was a big rock show. Thank you, LA, you're beautiful. And you know, that's the response. And luckily, the guy, Gary Stewart, the A&R guy, has a good sense of humor, and he thought it was great. And right afterwards, he's like, I want to sign you. And he took us to lunch and gave us free records. And
I heard a little sideline about that maybe somebody got drunk and lost the contracts, but I won't mention anything about that.
Yeah, that's true, we did. When we signed it, we got kind of drunk. We lost our contracts.
Well, hey, you signed a big record deal. I guess that's a good excuse. I don't I'm sure everybody is wondering too how you came up with a name, because it's not your run-of-the-mill average name, and it kind of leads one's mind to wondering what kind of band is this? Are they a gloomy English techno synth band or something like that? How did you come up with that name?
It was just from a circus poster. We were looking, at the time I think Johnny and I were both really intrigued by the state fair, and we're talking about that just in our conversations, and we're looking at it, and we just wrote it down along with a list of a bunch of other possible names for the band. And then one night we just said, we got to pick one of these, and we both liked House of Freaks more than any other name on it. And we stuck with it, and everyone hated that too. I mean, no one liked it. Yeah.
But you still broke through, you know.
Well, we didn't care, because we liked it, and we're not picking the name for you guys. We're picking it for us, and we also liked the fact that it didn't really go along with the music, because we didn't want to be pigeonholed into one type of style of music, because it keeps changing.
Right.
You know, if we picked something like Two Down-Home Dudes, or you know, there's certain names that have definite connotations that go along with the musical
stereotypical, you know, names from two guys coming out from.
Well, I mean, like the Long Riders, the Lone Justice, or Rank and File. They all tend to identify the type of music, which was fine, but we wanted to avoid that.
You started out playing pretty small clubs, etc., and now you're moving up, playing larger arenas and larger venues. Is it tough? Is it difficult? Or do you think you're going to be able to change from the smaller clubs?
Well, we're not really trying to change. I mean, what I would rather is that the audiences change their attitudes of what a big show is. I mean, I'd like it to be more informal. In fact, I just read a review in Billboard that said that we didn't really succeed at bringing our informal bar thing to a larger club, which, I mean, I don't really care, because there's nothing I hate more than you know, and shaking hands and all that,
everybody lighting their
gesticulations, that sort of stuff. I don't like that sort of stuff much. So we would rather have a more informal, intimate type of thing. And if you can do that in a large place, then great. And so we're just doing what we do anyhow, not trying to make our gestures more broad or anything like that.
Or trying to excite the audience, you know, the larger audience.
Yeah, I mean, some people are going to miss it. All along we've had people who scratch their head going, who are these guys? But we don't care. We like it, and that's what's important to me.
What was, or were some of your favorite clubs to play in the Los Angeles area?
Well, Club Lingerie, McCabe's is cool. The Guitar Shop in Santa Monica. Al's Bar before it got closed down. You got
really good reviews there. From
Al's Bar was more like a Virginia club, small and sweaty. You know, lousy sound system, but it was a lot of fun.
Can you, first of all, tell me what maybe one of your favorite songs is on your album?
Well, let me see what's on here. I like, well, I don't know. I like Lonesome Graveyard, I guess, or I like some of the more spare, weird songs on it.
How do you, what are some of your, do you just get songs, or do you just write all the time, or how do you?
We write a lot. Both Johnny and I write together. We generally come up with the stuff, the music, and the sort of a skeleton arrangement together, and then I'll take a tape of it and write the lyrics to it. So I write the lyrics. But Johnny's started getting into writing a lot of the melodies now, which is really funny. He comes up with these nice little ballads on his motorcycle. You know, he's got his hair pulled back. He's driving down the street because, Brian, I got this melody. So, but we've written in a lot of different ways. It was like 40 years. A lot of songs on the album I'd written before. Johnny and I got together, about 4 of them, but he put his personality, his stamp on it, so he changed enough. So, but now we write everything together.
It's a combination of the two of you. The song 40 Years is getting a lot of airplay on local radio stations.
I haven't heard it.
I've heard it driving around. And, can you tell me, there's a background on that story. Could you give us a little background on that, or?
Yeah. I wrote it actually about 3 years ago on the anniversary of the dropping of the atomic bomb. And it was just a song about hope. I was thinking, well, you know, we made it 40 years. We should be thankful for that. And it was more or less a reaction to the real doom and gloom type things, people whining about the end of the world, and I was really tired of that. It just seemed very, very overused, kind of trite. That's it. I don't like to get too far into them because people have their own interpretations of it. And when you tell them really what a song is about, I mean, I've got something behind everything that means something to me, but it doesn't mean the same thing.
But it's how it
someone said that 40 years they thought was about someone reaching middle age, and instead of regretting the fact that he had turned 40, he should be thankful.
So it could be interpreted.
I guess. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be 40. Or someone else said it was something about John Lennon, and someone else thought it was about Confederate generals or something. I've read a lot of different interpretations. But then when I write the lyrics, I leave it open to that too. Yeah. I like to have several different meanings. It's much more interesting that way.
But you publish your lyrics along with the album as well, so that's kind of a nice, nice added feature. Who came up with the title Monkey on a Chain Gang, or how did you?
Well, that was actually a friend of ours back in Richmond had a weird little song and a tape that was called Monkey on a Chain Gang, and we just liked it. We said, yeah, it's kind of cool, sort of fits with our lyrics, and the song's like Monkey on a Chain Gang, and so we stole it from him.
That's cool.
And then we gave him credit.
That's a very interesting title.
Yeah.
Well, I know you got to go. You're a busy guy, and
yeah, got to do laundry.
And pick up your car at Irvine too.
Yeah.
You gotta do that. Can you tell us, since Johnny's not here, we thought we'd give you a chance to really tell our viewers some of the things that really bug you about him on the road. And hopefully he'll see this sometime.
Let me see.